There is something in everybody's neck area that could be making sleep apnea up to 3 times as worse. And it's a big problem because obviously, if you have something in here that is going to be pressing down on your airway, it's going to be more likely to close, right? Not only is that going to make sleep worse for you and anyone you're sharing a bed with, but also as a direct consequence of this problem I'm about to show you in a moment, you're going to lose hair, you're going to gain weight, your skin, it's going to age faster. And what we're talking about here is the thyroid gland, because whether it is a bad thyroid leading to sleep apnea or sleep apnea making your thyroid worse, you need to be mindful of this organ so you don't get caught in this vicious cycle of things just getting worse and worse. So that's why in today's episode, we're going to talk about the thyroid in regard to sleep apnea. And yes, this covers hypothyroid and Hashimoto's. If you have Graves, sorry, but still watch this episode to learn. Because we're going to talk about how the thyroid gland impacts sleep apnea and vice versa. And of course, what can be done. And of course, this is for educational purposes only. We're going to talk science. We got references. This is not meant to treat, diagnose, manage any condition. This is not a replacement for standard treatments for any and all conditions. And of course, subscribe. So, what is going on with the thyroid gland and sleep apnea here? So this one study, which I recommend you read, it's a pretty good comprehensive one about what we're going to share. There's 3 big mechanisms by which a bad thyroid is going to make your sleep worse. Number one is it will lead to a bigger tongue. This is known as macroglossia, but effectively, when your thyroid levels are low, your tongue is going to get bigger. Obviously, that's bad for nighttime breathing for a lot of reasons. Number two is bad thyroid gland leads to big mucus, which I know sounds like an awful company or a weird conspiracy theory, but in reality, it just means you're going to have a thicker layer of stuff in here. And as a result, that will make it harder to breathe through your nose, also through your throat here. And then you'll have just heavy labored mouth breathing at night, which is associated with more frequent closings of your airway. Again, not what we want. And then lastly, a bad thyroid gland is going to make all of your muscles weak throughout your entire body, which is a problem by itself, and even more so when you have all these muscles in here. And when they're weaker, they're more likely to get pulled back by fast or regular inhales that are happening as because of this mucus here, right? So it all kind of runs together like that. And that's why, again, if you have thyroid issues, you are 3 times more likely to have obstructive sleep apnea. Now, it goes both ways here. I did say vice versa or vice versa back then. But nonetheless, what happens here is that sleep apnea then also makes your thyroid gland worse. So the relationship, again, triples both ways. And what happens here is that these rapid swings in oxygen, when you breathe, stop breathing, breathe at night, going to lead to some bad things, particularly activation of HIF1 alpha hypoxia inducible factor, which will then lead to the following here. So earlier I said Hashimoto's, that's a type of your thyroid not working. But this also, what I'm going to show you, also applies to hypothyroid, because the main idea is that when you have hypoxia going on, it will lead to oxidation in many different ways. By damaging your thyroid directly, it's going to underproduce thyroid. We'll talk about that in a moment. But then also, although it's not shown here, I wish it was. Like, this was the best autoimmune picture I could get. But when you have hypoxia, autoimmune goes way up. Now, Hashimoto's is a type of autoimmune, and when you have free radicals, and that will cause changes to the structure, your body will recognize that as foreign and attack it. That's no bueno. Yes, I'm fluent in a few Spanish words. And when you look at how obstructive sleep apnea causes declines in thyroid function, so this is a 10-year retrospective study here, what will happen is that first it'll be a little bit elevated, and then it will normalize, and then it will go downhill. There's this depletion effect, if you will. So when we talk about repleting, remember why we're doing that, and it will go downhill. It goes downhill because we're just actively using up all the resources in the thyroid while also destroying it slowly. So that's a big problem. The other thing that will go on is when you have sleep apnea, your cortisol levels are going to be higher. I know there's a lot going on in this graph. Just calm down. Cortisol goes up. And as a result, it will then suppress your thyroid. So not only are we using up thyroid hormone, eventually, because of high cortisol levels, it completely shuts down the factory. So our thyroid factory is off, and it does not have any materials inside to even make thyroid hormone to a significant degree or perhaps optimal degree. So that's why when you look at labs, you're going to more likely see this low T3. You may not see it reflected in TSH yet, but you want to make sure you're checking T3. All right, so let's talk about fixing this, shall we? All focusing on the thyroid. Am I really fast scrolling here? So this is what can be done. And again, I'm not telling you to do this. I'm just sharing information, and it's always up to you what to talk to your doctor about. So we've talked about having your thyroid gland, it's run out of material. So we need to bring material back into your thyroid. But again, it's really important to talk to your doctor about the appropriateness of implementing this because if there's something wrong with your thyroid, maybe your Hashimoto's and in an active flare, iodine could actually make it worse. So just saying. But nonetheless, you need iodine as the building block to make thyroid hormone. That is what gets consumed by obstructive sleep apnea. So you need to bring that back into your diet, okay, or even bring it there in the first place here. And not only do you need iodine, you also need like the activator, okay, which is selenium here. So iodine is the building brick, and then selenium is like the called mortar, right? That's what goes in between bricks. I'm pretty sure. Well, I'm pathetic in building materials. Nonetheless, best sources of iodine, and I was going to bore you and give you a wrong table because I swear to God, there is a conspiracy that every single time you look up the highest sources of iodine or something like that, it only shows you random plant sources that are all low in iodine. Anyway, I digress. Seafood, things from the ocean are going to be really high. So, like cod, seaweed is going to be really, really important. Honestly, one of the easiest ways because you can get these salt shakers. I'm not sure why I'm looking around like I would have one next to me, but you can have these salt shakers that have iodine or like kelp in it. So it's super easy just to add on to your food. So that's one way. Milk often contains it, meh, kind of, may have some issues there. Eggs is going to be another rich source, and then shrimp is going to be really good as well. Then we need our activator or the mortar here, and you can see some similar things here. So eggs have the overlap, and then we got some seafood as well. Brazil nuts, proceed with caution if you have a nut allergy, of course, but also there can be mold and mycotoxins. And of course, Brazil nuts can really vary in how much selenium they have because, as you can see here, this number is way higher than like all the others. It's like 500, and then none of this is over 100 around this table. However, again, it can vary depending on the soil quality. And my whiteboard is telling me that I should tell you to subscribe. Let's just keep going. But seriously, subscribe. Very strong call to action. Number 2 is you want to correct cortisol with ashwagandha. And you can pronounce that however you want. Don't let the English language limit you. So this is a study, an actual study on an actual supplement. I know, shocking, right? Not just hearsay. And I guess these fellows were smart. Definitely, they published a study. But they were looking at, okay, if we take ashwagandha, how does it impact thyroid levels in people? And most importantly, subclinical hypothyroid patients. Because if you don't already have hypothyroid or Hashimoto's, okay, if you don't, but you have sleep apnea, it's very likely you're developing subclinical hypothyroid. Nonetheless, what they did here, probably should have gone in reverse order here. They did ashwagandha root about 600 milligrams daily, and they did that for 8 weeks. And they took people who were having these low thyroid levels and somewhat high TSH, because if TSH is higher, that means your thyroid function is lower. And it actually normalized these blood markers. So there you go. So that's how that works. And then the third big thing would be to repair with red light therapy. Now, I'm not actually sure which device that is, and I've never seen one just looks like a speaker box, if you will. But what they found in research studies in people using red light therapy with thyroid problems is that people were able to dramatically reduce their thyroid medication, go from about, let's just say, 90 micrograms down to 40. So nearly a halving of the thyroid medication, which is huge. And in a relatively short time frame, 9 months, I know, oh my God, I want instant results. I get it. But some people are on that medication for like years. So to reduce it in half in 9 months is huge. And the reason that was able to happen in that study, they talk about how the thyroid tissue itself, because they did biopsies and stuff, they actually looked at the tissue, was actually repairing because of the primary intervention which was red light therapy. So there you go. So how you can use that, do this briefly here. So you want to find something that is red and near infrared, so around 660 nanometers and 850 nanometers. I know it may not be approachable, but if you do look at devices, you want to make sure they have at least both of these in the product specs. You don't want to use it too much, okay? This is not more equals better. You want to give a dose. Start low, and then you can build your way up. And then, of course, talk to your doctor if I haven't said that already. I know I have. Nonetheless, be exceedingly cautious if you have active thyroid cancer, pregnant, or if you're using photosensitizing medications, which can be common if you have an autoimmune condition and you're medically being treated for it. So, those are the major things that are going to help your thyroid. Now, if you want that all written out, because it was quite a bit of information, we got the thyroid and sleep apnea guide. So, you get information here and additional information for you. And of course, you want some more help. I know I'm talking about two things. We'll get to the third fun thing in a moment. But second big thing is obviously if you're sleeping a lot better at night because you're breathing a lot better, that would also help. Call me crazy. So that's what the sleep apnea reset protocol workshop will help you do. It walks you through a series of exercise and tests so you can build a handy dandy protocol for your breathing and the muscles in your airway so it's able to stay nice and open and happy. And there'll be a link somewhere on the screen for that. Now, how to get either of them. You can also go to the description box. You may have to click the title if you're on your phone, and then it'll appear there. You just click away. And then I already told you there's buttons for the other one. And of course, links, because people love links. If you want the thyroid guide, go to ochnow.com/thyroid or scan the QR code there because you're a QR code master. Or if you want the sleep apnea reset protocol workshop, go to ochnow.com/reset or scan that QR code there. Trying to make sure these are different, which is an exercise in futility. They are different. Okay, so I just copy and paste them. All right. And of course, please subscribe. And if you want the most highest level of help to get over things as quickly as possible with a high level of confidence, want to work with us, you can go to ochnow.com/next to learn the next steps there. Either way, whatever you do, you're awesome. Thanks for watching. Thanks for taking care of your health. I'll see you soon. Dylan Peckus signing off.